Last time, things got way out of control. Hyunwook didn't just win, he annihilated the berserker in front of the entire arena, proving he's no ordinary soldier. But just when everyone thought that was the end, the real chaos began. The mysterious Black Tiger unit showed up, and guess what? Hyunwook got personally scouted by their lieutenant. But before he could even process that offer, a deadly cobalt gate opened right inside the city. Poison gas, soldiers collapsing, kobolds swarming from every corner. And in the middle of it all, Hyunwook standing tall with his new cloud blade, ready to face the impossible. Who lived, who fell, and what really triggered this ambush? We're breaking it all down in today's episode recap. And hey, if you want to catch up on full videos of the previous parts, all the links are waiting for you in the description. Don't miss what happens next. Then it begins a violent, beautiful symphony of slashes. Corporal Lee carves through the kobolds with such speed and precision that it looks almost effortless. He spins his sword like a whip, reducing the monsters into chunks as though they had stumbled into a blender. When the dust settles, the ground is littered with shiny stones, the essence stones the kobolds had been carrying. Corporal Lee's eyes light up with glee, eager to savor the spoils of his work. Meanwhile, Private Park stands dumbfounded, wondering what could possibly be appetizing about these monstrous remains. Corporal Lee shoots him an annoyed look clearly. Sharing this meal is out of the question. It seems the kobolds have finally slammed on the brakes, perhaps realizing they're on a one-way ticket to Cobalt Valhalla. Corporal Lee gives them a curious glance, wondering aloud where their boss might be hiding. Suddenly, the enchantment emblem on the Cobalt leader's head begins to shimmer as if they're being summoned. Realization dawns on Corporal Lee, his disbelief written all over his face. Right on cue, the kobolds start turning around. Corporal Lee just stands there, stunned, while Private Park remains completely clueless. Then, as if they suddenly remembered they left the oven on, the kobolds start heading back in the opposite direction. Lee snaps into action, sprinting after the retreating creatures like his life depends on it. He shouts for Private Park to move before these little pests put the entire squad in jeopardy. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, the commanding officer orders the attack squad to hold position and gun down any kobolds escaping the gas zone. She coordinates with the Blue Flower Guild, instructing them to move toward Cavalin. One soldier nods but throws her a curveball, asking if she intends to go somewhere herself. The officer can't shake the feeling that Corporal Lee already knew this would happen. She casually replies that she has something to confirm, and with zero hesitation, leaps from the 5th floor rooftop, landing gracefully in the swirl of green smoke like a cat. Back on the battlefield, chaos reigns. The vice president is visibly losing control, and Private M is seconds from blacking out unless he receives immediate healing. Soldiers scramble to patch up the injured, but their carefully constructed box formation is getting shredded. Then, the boss monster makes its grand entrance, tearing apart their defenses with brutal precision. The soldiers fight desperately to hold the line, but one kobold stands out, weaving magic with ferocity that confirms this is no ordinary enemy. This is their leader. No one expected the boss to be a cunning sorcerer instead of a hulking rat brute, but here he is, throwing out spells like party tricks. Finally, he succeeds in breaking down their formation entirely. Like cockroaches crashing a feast, the rest of the kobolds swarm in, hungry and eager for fresh human meat. The soldiers are nearly panicking now. Ammunition is running dry, and they're surrounded. Just as a retreat seems inevitable, the boss suddenly stiffens, sensing something. The fog shifts, revealing two silhouettes running side by side, Corporal Lee and Private Park. Alarm bells ring in the boss's mind. This fight just got serious. Seizing the moment, Corporal Lee hurls his sword with every ounce of strength he has. The boss reacts instantly, dodging like a caffeinated cat. But Lee's weapon isn't done. The blade bends midair, magically redirecting itself toward its target like a homing missile. The boss avoids it again, tumbling backward but recovering with ease. The momentary triumph fades as he notices the jar in his hand has been pierced. leaking its contents. Enraged, the boss issues a telepathic order, sending his minions charging at Lee and Park. Lee's instincts scream danger. He and Park quickly backpedal, maintaining distance just as the kobolds start blowing poisonous darts, hundreds of tiny needles whistling through the air. Lee plants his sword in the ground and forms a barrier, deflecting every single dart before they can reach him or Park. But there's no time to celebrate. Another wave is already on the way, aimed straight at Private Park. Lee bellows for Park to get down. Park ducks just in time, narrowly dodging the deadly volley. A system window flashes before Lee's eyes. Metal control ability, current capacity 2959 G. A warning blares that his transition speed is exceeding safe limits. No time to hesitate. Lee redirects the metal with precise control, scattering every single dart in different directions. The poisonous rain turns into a deadly game of dodgeball, and Lee isn't losing. A warning blinks. Corporal Lee has lost control of the M7 grade sword. The blade now whirls unpredictably through the air. Suddenly, the Cobalt boss's gaze fixes on something unexpected. Corporal Lee now has a gun in hand. Without hesitation, he unleashes a barrage of bullets toward the Cobalts. In that instant, he realizes that this is no ordinary commander. This is the puppet master controlling the entire Cobalt squad. The revelation strikes hard. Scaring them away won't buy enough time, and a full-on battle is too risky, especially with Private Park at his side. Strategic thinking is needed, maybe even a tactical retreat. Acting fast, Corporal Lee leads the way toward the safety of the box formation. Private Park, slightly clumsy but determined, follows as they push forward at full speed. But the Cobalts are relentless, launching another wave of poisonous darts. They are only a few feet from the formation when the darts close in, mere inches from hitting their marks. Quick on his feet, Corporal Lee uses his metal manipulation to divert the needles mid-flight, sending them spinning harmlessly away. With a nimble leap, Private Park dives into the box formation. Corporal Lee follows close behind, sealing the protective barrier and leaving the Cobalts outside. Their darts strike uselessly against the force field, unable to pierce through. The Cobalts, clearly enraged by the failed assault, begin to thrash and snarl. Corporal Lee can't resist. He flashes them a mocking grin, deliberately provoking them as if throwing an insult party just for them. Inside the formation, soldiers are tending to the wounded. The vice president, however, is in a state of panic, nearly having a breakdown. The tension eases slightly when Corporal Lee appears. His presence alone reassures the others. Private Park immediately turns to him, reporting that Private M has lost consciousness. The news is dire. Corporal Lee casts a doubtful look, wondering why they haven't already handled it, considering the vice president is renowned as the best healer in town. But it becomes clear she's paralyzed with fear, locked in the grip of a panic attack. Worse still, she's the only healer present, their last hope for saving the injured. Corporal Lee's tone sharpens as he addresses her directly, reminding her that Private M is on the brink of death and that every second counts. When she still doesn't respond, he leans in, his gaze piercing, practically willing her to snap out of it. After a deep breath, he calls her by name. Slowly, she lifts her head and meets his eyes. His voice is firm, commanding her to pull herself together. The lives of their comrades depend on it. He warns her that if she doesn't act now, she'll carry the regret forever. Speaking from personal experience, he tells her how regret can turn life into a nightmare. His words finally reach her, breaking through her fear. At a distance, a lone Cobalt watches the scene unfold. Inside the formation, the vice president finally comes to her senses, regains control, and begins channeling her magic. The wounded soldiers now have hope. As she works, she tells Corporal Lee that Private Menai has already lost a dangerous amount of blood due to the delay, but she refuses to give up. Corporal Lee thanks her sincerely, his expression softening with a warm smile. Then he stands and borrows every blade from his fellow soldiers. Using his abilities, he manipulates the floating weapons, preparing for what comes next. Private Park, wide-eyed, asks if Corporal Lee intends to face the Kobolds head-on. Corporal Lee grits his teeth, confirming that he's ready to give them a taste of their own medicine. Meanwhile, the scene shifts. A woman of high authority cruises down the highway in a luxury car. She ends a phone call abruptly, a spider casually perched on her shoulder. Her demeanor is poised and commanding, radiating an aura that warns she is not to be underestimated. Calmly, she instructs her driver to head to Ewan. Back at the arena, Corporal Lee strolls through the green smoke, daggers orbiting him like predators ready to strike. Corporal Lee stumbles upon the mark he had made with duct tape before the Cobalt attack. As he stands there, the Cobalts are already gearing up for the impending clash. The boss monster, in particular, grits his teeth at the sight of him and telepathically commands his lackey to prepare for the showdown. Corporal Lee stands over the duct tape mark, his daggers hovering in the air, providing full coverage from every possible angle. A devilish grin spreads across his face. It's clear the prey has stepped right into the perfect hunting ground, and the night is about to get a lot more dangerous. From a bird's eye view, we see that this spot is the central marker where Lee has strategically arranged boxes and sensors. The only uncovered section of the battlefield belongs to Vice President Choi Sanha, the pink-haired commander. Lee is fired up now, knowing it's game over once he gets his hands on the Cobalt leader, the puppet master pulling the strings behind the scenes. Right on cue, he whips out his metal detector and scans the entire area, revealing the location of every sneaky Cobalt lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. Any unrecognized metal outside this perimeter must belong to those pesky Cobalts, and they're clearly up to no good. Finally, the showdown begins. Lee readies his daggers, manipulating them with his metallic powers. Just as the tension peaks, the system window appears, dropping crucial information about the consume effect. Absorbing metal increases the weight he can control. Right now, he's commanding an incredible 2,959 joules of metallic mayhem. He launches his blades in every direction, targeting the hidden Cobalts like a seasoned knife-throwing performer. The blades strike one by one, piercing the creatures as if they were slicing through soft cake. Green blood splatters from each hit, grotesque yet strangely stylish. One of the blades seems to have a personal vendetta, turning toward the Cobalt leader as though determined to finish this fight. But the leader isn't about to stand by while his comrades are cut down. He unleashes his magical energy, going full battle mage mode, and successfully grabs the floating sword midair like catching a spellbound javelin. But Lee was ready. It's as if he predicted this exact moment. Without hesitation, he launches a fresh volley of blades from every direction, turning the Cobalt into the unwilling centerpiece of a medieval carnival act. Just when it seems over, the creature lets out a shriek so powerful it feels like it could wake a sleeping god. Lee's eyes widen in disbelief as the scene pans back. The Cobalt has somehow caught all 5 of the incoming blades. Now furious beyond reason, the leader glares back. Lee, never one to back down, mocks the creature, moving his hands to try to wrestle back control of the daggers with his steel manipulation power. Then the system window chimes again, a harsh reality check. The daggers are bound by a force greater than what Lee can control. His smirk falters. The Cobalt leader seizes the moment, signaling his lackeys to attack. Needles rain down like a deadly storm. Before Lee can react, one strikes from behind, narrowly missing his spine. He spins around, finally realizing just how bad the situation has become. But instead of retreating, Lee stands his ground, taking the barrage of needles head-on as if enduring some twisted initiation ritual for the world's most sadistic club. The air grows tense, thick enough to cut with one of the very daggers now lying useless on the battlefield. The Cobalts watch with bated breath, wondering if Corporal Lee has just turned into a human pincushion. Then, as if on cue, the daggers drop lifelessly to the ground. It's as though Corporal Lee suddenly lost control of them. The Cobalt boss, looking as puzzled as a cat watching a magic trick, takes a moment to process what just happened. Suddenly, he snaps out of his confusion and orders his lackeys to lunge at Corporal Lee. Without hesitation, the Cobalts charge forward. Lee, who just took a rain of poisonous needles like the lead in a twisted parade, is now the center of chaos. Things are about to get wild, and it's clear he'll need more than luck to survive. As the camera zooms in, we see that the needles landed on his hands, but quick thinking saved him. He transformed his hands into steel just before they could turn him into a pincushion. Grinding his teeth, he looks more determined than ever not to let this life end like his previous one. Standing tall, he casually shrugs off the needles as if they were no more than mosquito bites. His steel-forged muscles gleam, the unsung heroes that saved him from certain death. With a sharp motion, he summons his daggers, now spinning around him like he's auditioning for a knife-throwing act. Lee is furious. It's as if the Cobalts have stomped on his very last nerve. The creatures launch themselves at him, eager to finish the job, while the daggers spin with deadly precision. Lee shouts for everyone to get lost, his booming voice paired with a commanding gesture. The daggers respond to his fury, slashing through the air like a storm. They whirl around him so fast that it's like a tornado, or perhaps a blender, and the Cobalts are shredded as easily as vegetables in a salad. The display of raw power is staggering, visible from miles away. When the dust settles, Corporal Lee stands tall, looking like a warrior straight out of a metal album cover. The Cobalt leader is visibly shaken, forced to reassess the situation. With steely resolve in his eyes, Lee calls him out directly, declaring that it's time to settle the score. The Cobalt leader accepts, finally deciding to get serious. He takes an offensive stance and releases a mysterious green gas from his jar, shrouding the battlefield. Lee remains unfazed. He draws his sword and conjures a mist to counteract the poisonous fumes. Surrounded by swirling smoke, he reminds the wizard-like Cobalt that he's worked hard to keep this a fair fight, and he's not a fan of cheap tricks. With his metal detector in hand, Lee scans the area. Even through the dense fog, he can pinpoint the Cobalt's exact location. It's like playing hide and seek with a cheat code. Having learned from past encounters, Lee knows better than to recklessly throw his daggers. He understands they would simply be trapped. He studies the Cobalt closely and notices something strange. The creature is rooted firmly in place, not moving at all. As Lee glances downward, a shimmering red energy snakes toward him, aiming to catch him off guard. On the other side, the Cobalt extends his magical energy as far as he can. The energy whip lashes out and grabs Lee's leg, yanking him to the ground. Now fully committed to revenge, the Cobalt lifts Lee into the air, raising him higher and higher before hurling him down with a violent flick. Lee crashes into the ground, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. The Cobalt throws back his head and laughs like a maniac, convinced that he's won. But his celebration is cut short when Lee's voice calls out from within the dust. This time, Lee is done playing the hero. He's ready to become the villain of his own story because he simply cannot tolerate a smug little Cobalt laughing at him. As the dust clears, we see that his legs have already transformed into steel, protecting him before he even hit the ground, despite the blood trickling from his mouth. He is ablaze not just from the fall, but from the sheer determination to end this conniving Cobalt who has dragged him through the depths of hell, forcing him to relive his previous life over and over. Cobalt, on the other hand, is still shrieking madly, his rage matching Corporal Lee's. Then, in a flash, he vanishes. But this time, Corporal Lee's keen eyes do not miss him. Cobalt is tearing through space at lightning speed, hurtling toward him. In the blink of an eye, he materializes behind Corporal Lee, dagger poised for a surprise strike. But Corporal Lee's lightning-fast reflexes save him. He steps back, plants his feet firmly, and dodges the attack with ease. Now he's even more furious not only at the attack itself, but at the audacity of this little rat to strike from behind. With righteous fury, he hurls his sword straight at Cobalt, declaring that betrayal from behind is the one thing he despises most. Cobalt counters with his dagger, but his expression betrays that the tables have turned against him. Corporal Lee channels his strength into his legs, hardening them like steel, and delivers a brutal kick to Cobalt's face. The impact sends Cobalt flying, crashing and bouncing across the ground like a pebble skimming across water. As the wretched rat wizard lies battered and broken, Corporal Lee makes it clear that he has waited for this moment for a long time. Finally, revenge is his. Leaning over his defeated foe, he snarls that this rodent will be the first to fall by his hands, an honor it should savor. With the Cobalt's mask crushed beneath his boot, Corporal Lee grins like a man who has taken control of fate itself. The pathetic creature can no longer muster its magic. Corporal Lee takes aim at his own trauma, ready to carve it out once and for all. He hurls his daggers, which slice through the air like boomerangs, shredding the rat from every direction. The creature's own dagger lies abandoned on the ground, and its smoke jar lies shattered. And yet, despite 1,000 cuts, the cursed thing still clings to life. Undeterred, Corporal Lee grabs it by the mouth, sword poised like an executioner ready to strike. This is the end. This is payback. Before delivering the killing blow, he lets the creature know exactly why this moment matters. Because of it, he spent years living like a broken man. The daggers that just tore through its flesh once belonged to the squad members this rat slaughtered in his previous life. Private Park's image flashes in Corporal Lee's mind, kind, cheerful, always looking up to him. And yet, this monster had severed Park's head, an image that has haunted Corporal Lee ever since. This is not just vengeance, it is justice, and it must be done. With burning resolve, Corporal Lee thrusts his sword deep into Cobalt's belly. A system notification appears, declaring that Cloudblade is absorbing the blood of an elite monster, its energy filling with an unknown power 1% charged. He ignores it and drives the blade in deeper, silencing Cobalt's screams. The dagger lying on the ground begins to shimmer. Corporal Lee summons it with his steel manipulation ability, halting it just before Cobalt's forehead. This is personal. The scar on Corporal Lee's face still burns with the memory of this creature. With a final, merciless strike, the blade splits the rat wizard's face in two. The system window appears once more, announcing that Cloudblade is now 11% charged and that its latent power will unlock when completely filled. But Corporal Lee doesn't care. What matters is the weight lifted from his soul. He has avenged the first wound of his past. As the smoke around him begins to clear, something unexpected happens. The medallion bursts from Cobalt's lifeless body. Corporal Lee stares, shocked. Another notification appears. He has acquired the Devil Medallion and gained the power of Inferno. This Hellfire Medallion contains the power of the demonic race and is the highest-ranked item in the Medallion series. However, Corporal Lee gives it a doubtful glance, wondering why it has suddenly appeared here. The Devil's Medallion, known as Inferno, is believed to have belonged to the leader of an undead army. It is said that the undead army led by this mysterious figure was a nightmare for the surviving humans, making him humanity's greatest villain, a necromancer. However, there is virtually no intel about this man, and the mystery surrounding him only deepens. Corporal Lee, however, holds one crucial piece of information, a unique growth trait that he has always kept hidden. This trait allows him to advance beyond F rank, but only through a specific method, not through ordinary combat or training. In his previous life, Corporal Lee barely managed to end the battle at his blue lava golem workshop, obtaining only a replica of Inferno, a mere imitation of the original. Now, he is bewildered as to why the genuine Hellfire Medallion has appeared out of nowhere. He begins to suspect there's something more going on, something he doesn't yet understand. As the poison gas starts to clear, he quickly eats the medallion before anyone notices. But before he can bite down, a red-haired woman appears behind him, calling out a name that leaves him sweating bullets. She draws her weapon and sternly demands to know who he is and what he's hiding. Corporal Lee is at a loss for words, realizing he's in deep trouble. Just then, the Spider Lady enters the scene, cutting through the tension with a sound of her claps. She removes her mask and, with a delicate smile, compliments the impressive battle she just witnessed. The redhead introduces herself as the 1st Battalion Attack Squad Captain of the 3rd Amped Brigade. She warns the newcomer that this is a military operation zone and that civilians are not allowed. However, the Spider Lady ignores the warning and strides straight toward Corporal Lee, clearly with her own agenda. Without hesitation, she introduces herself as Catherine Yu, the head of the Soul Attack Unit of the Blue Flower Guild, and extends her hand, offering her guild card. Corporal Lee ignores her advances, unmoved by her charm as she clings to the card like it's her last lifeline. Teasingly, she asks if he's been living under a rock not to recognize her. But from the look on his face, it's obvious he hasn't forgotten she's on his hit list. Revenge burns in his eyes. Rewinding to the past, we see a brave redhead with a massive shield trying to protect him amidst the chaos, shouting for him to get his act together and survive. Corporal Lee tells her to get out of the way, but she refuses to budge. Moments later, she becomes the tragic victim of the creatures crawling above her. The cause of her death lies with this same woman Yun, the true murderer of Seo Yunha. Back in the present, the Spider Lady, receiving no response, assumes he doesn't recognize her. She warns him that rejecting her offer means losing a massive opportunity. But Corporal Lee couldn't care less about her prestigious guild. His mind is filled with thoughts of vengeance. The tension is thick. The redhead breaks the silence, reminding the Spider Lady that this is a military zone, not a tea party, and orders her to leave immediately. The Spider Lady, clearly irritated, lets out a sigh and glares coldly, reminding the redhead to address her properly as the head of the Soul Attack Squad from the Blue Flower Guild. The two women lock eyes in a fierce standoff, their glares sharp enough to cut steel. Corporal Lee stands between them, feeling as uncomfortable as a cat at a dog show. Just when things couldn't get any more awkward, a military truck screeches to a halt nearby. Everyone turns as the battalion commander himself steps out, scanning the scene first to the left, where he sees the corpses of the kobolds, and then to the right, where their leader lies sprawled out like discarded debris. At this point, Corporal Lee is sweating buckets, envisioning all sorts of doom and gloom scenarios. The commander gives him a skeptical look, while Corporal Lee's mind tries to slip away from his physical self, urging him to handle this mess alone. Back in action, the battalion commander cuts through the heavy tension when he greets the department head of the Soul Attack Squad with a grin, saying it's been ages since they last faced off. The lady fires back with the same energy, asking how things have been progressing. The battalion commander doesn't miss a beat, thanking her for the reinforcements sent by the Blue Flower Guild. However, he makes it clear that this is a military operation, and sneaking into the action zone without authorization is a no-go, even for the Blue Flower Guild. He politely but firmly suggests that she leave. She sighs in disappointment, remarking how predictably inflexible soldiers can be. Yet, to pique everyone's curiosity, she hints that she's about to reveal the best part of the story but decides to let it go. Out of the blue, she kisses the guild card she's been holding, leaving a delicate mark of her lipstick on it, then slides it into Corporal Lee's uniform pocket. With a wink, she tells him to call her later. After that, the lady exits the restricted area, and the battalion commander immediately calls Corporal Lee over. The corporal snaps to attention and reports in. The commander then drops a bombshell. From this moment forward, Corporal Lee is being promoted to squad commander for the Cobalt operation. He orders him to make the rescue of the survivors the top priority and trusts him to assign roles to his squad members. Corporal Lee doesn't say a word in front of his seniors. He takes it all in stride, but deep down, he's not exactly thrilled with the new responsibility. The commander then gives another order once the operation concludes. Corporal Lee must report back to him in person for a debriefing. With the firm resolve of a soldier, Corporal Lee responds with a crisp, "Yes, sir." Just as they're about to part ways, the red-haired lady shoots him a soul-piercing glance. At that moment, a shiver runs down Corporal Lee's spine, all thanks to her intense gaze. A week passes, and we're outside the 3rd Armored Brigade, 1st Battalion, where everything seems peaceful. Suddenly, a system notification pops up, announcing that the absorption of the Devil's Medallion metal is complete and that the controllable metal weight has increased by 499 grams. Now, Corporal Lee can manipulate a total weight of 345 F8G with his powers. Shifting scenes, we find ourselves outside the men's bathroom, where someone sounds like they're puking their guts out. Another notification appears, warning that a breath room is forming in Corporal Lee's stomach, currently at 1%, which could lead to excruciating pain for the time being. When we finally see Corporal Lee, it's clear the Devil's Medallion he devoured is wreaking havoc on him. Private Park enters the restroom, his playful nature on full display. Leaning toward the cubicle door, he flashes a mischievous grin and teasingly asks if the corporal is enjoying some quality alone time. Flames seem to escape Corporal Lee's mouth. His weakened body can't handle the strain, making the pain unbearable. Inside that cramped toilet room, it's obvious that whatever is happening is far from what Private Park imagines. It's not pleasant at all. Corporal Lee's entire body is steaming with light, bursting from the corners of his eyes and mouth as if a heater has been cranked up inside him. The reaction intensifies, heating the entire restroom. Now, Private Park feels chills run down his spine, wondering what the hell is happening to this guy. Rewinding the clock to when the entire Cobalt Gate scenario began, everyone had underestimated the creature's infiltration, leading to countless casualties. Among the soldiers, the Vice President's healing powers managed to pull Private on M back from the brink of death, allowing him to be safely transported to the military hospital. After that nightmarish day, Corporal Lee had a change of heart. He realized he couldn't shoulder the burden of protection alone, so he began training the support squad members to defend themselves. This shift in strategy wasn't just a learning curve, it brought its own challenges. However, this change sparked an unexpected development. The Vice President started paying more attention to Corporal Lee, something he found more than a little unsettling. It wasn't just the occasional glance or casual check-in. It felt like he was under a microscope, and he wasn't here for it. Soon after, we glimpsed the Vice Platoon President nagging Corporal Lee yet again. Clearly not on the same wavelength, he asks dejectedly, "What do you want now?" His patience for these encounters is wearing thin. On the flip side, an orange-haired soldier is fuming with anger, another problem for Corporal Lee. Ever since the battalion commander started showing him special attention and suggesting he quit his current role to become a non-commissioned officer, this orange-haired individual has been on edge. Yet, Corporal Lee isn't thrilled about all this spotlight. It's not as easy as it seems, but he's not the type to defy his senior's suggestions. The commander envisions an ideal military culture where ranks don't dictate every interaction, a more unified, team-oriented environment. He sees Corporal Lee as a key piece of that puzzle, someone who can help make it a reality. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee scratches his head, wondering why he's been chosen to help this guerrilla achieve his ambitious dreams. Despite his reservations, he tells the commander he'll think it over during his vacation. 3 weeks pass quickly, and vacation day finally arrives. On day 1, we find ourselves outside Seoul Station, where someone stands guard outside a restroom. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee is once again battling his frequent stomach issues. Out of nowhere, a system window pops up, congratulating him for meeting special conditions and granting a new skill, Breath Fire, a grade D ability that boosts his metal absorption power by 50 to 250%. The downside? The more efficient the furnace, the greater the pain. The second part of the skill, Fire Breath, allows Corporal Lee to store metal in a breath chamber and unleash it as fiery breath. The weight limit is 3 kilos per blast, and fulfilling hidden conditions can level up the skill. Emerging from the bathroom looking like he just wrestled a dragon, Corporal Lee feels relief. At least now there won't be any rumors about strange bathroom antics. Standing before the mirror, he reflects on a harsh reality. He's unsure if his powers will be enough for the next gate. His mind drifts to a grim memory, an angry crowd confronting the battalion commander, demanding answers about whether he plans to abandon the civilians trapped inside Seoul Station. Inside, innocent people scream for help, their bodies covered in blood. These haunting memories continue to torment Corporal Lee. Determined not to let history repeat itself, he resolves to change the future, no matter the cost, even if it means sacrificing his life. As he walks down the familiar halls of Seoul Station, his mission is clear: use this vacation to prepare for the looming threat and alter the city's fate. Meanwhile, the vice president, ready to unwind, lights up a cigarette and remarks how long it's been since her last vacation. She jokes about how colorful military life is, but before she can relax, her plans are abruptly interrupted, as her lighter refuses to cooperate, leaving her cigarette unlit and her mood a little darker. Frustration starts to set in. Just then, the universe intervenes, their paths cross, and in a serendipitous moment, Corporal Lee and the vice president lock eyes. In her slightly vexed state, she asks him the burning question: does he have a lighter? An awkward tension descends between them, mainly because the vice president has never revealed her casual and genuine side to anyone before. Meanwhile, under the blazing sun, a train barrels along its tracks. Inside, the vice president and Corporal Lee share a seat, plunged into an uncomfortable silence that hangs heavy in the air. Breaking the tension, she finally looks toward him and initiates a casual conversation. She asks if this is his first vacation, assuming his parents must be thrilled to see him. But with an unfazed expression, he calmly reveals that neither of his parents is alive. They passed away when he was young. The unexpected response sends a chill down the vice president's spine, and she is left pouting, realizing she might have inadvertently made things even more awkward. Noticing her sulking, Corporal Lee decides to ease the mood. Flashing a pleasant smile, he reassures her that it's all good. While his younger years were tough and lonely after losing his parents, he found a second family among the people he met as an adult. Intrigued, the vice president asks who he considers his family. Corporal Lee recalls memories of people close to him, friends, co-workers, and with subtle emphasis, comrades in arms. It's his casual way of expressing the deep bond formed in the military, a camaraderie that goes beyond mere friendship. Now that he's finally arrived in Yeongdongpo, only one thing is on his mind. With just 4 days and 3 nights for this whirlwind vacation, he's got to prepare for the future. With a broad grin, he reveals that topping his list is the timeless classic: getting his hands on some cold, hard cash. He squints at a guild billboard like it holds the secret to the universe. The big boss behind the company Blue Tree is swimming in a pool of trillions. Meet Gordon Pry, the man casually sipping wine while dollar bills rain around him. This black market tycoon has bought off high-ranking officials, powerful players, and valuable assets, slowly taking control and turning everything into his personal playground. According to our MC's insider scoop, they lost to this villain for many reasons, but at the core of it all lies money. Armick admits that reaching Gordon Pry's level of wealth is like chasing a unicorn. It's impossible. But he's not aiming that high. He just wants enough cash to stay out of trouble and avoid getting caught in Gordon's web. Luckily, being a time-traveling wizard gives him the upper hand. He knows every future money-making event, where it'll happen, and when the cash will pile up. If he invests early, even pocket change could turn into a fortune. But there's a catch. He needs a reliable partner, someone loyal who won't back out no matter what. So, he sets out to find a trustworthy ally, a psychic who'd keep their word even if it's written in invisible ink. As he climbs the stairs, he catches the sound of a commotion. Someone's throwing around insults like it's a sport, and the tension is ready to explode. A silver-haired man grips a young boy, demanding he find him a job. The boy insists there aren't many clients around lately, but the man refuses to listen, urging him to grab whatever work comes his way. In the midst of the chaos, Armick makes his entrance. The silver-haired man spins around, locks eyes with him, and there's a moment of silence. Then, as if flipping a switch, the man's anger melts away. With a wide grin, he struts over to Corporal Lee like they're old friends. Let's rewind to a time when Silverhead wasn't so intimidating. This was their first encounter, and like Corporal Lee, he was also an awakened. We also see a young and energetic Corporal Lee returning Silverhead's introduction with an equally pleasant smile and greeting. Back in the present, as Silverhead starts getting cozy with Corporal Lee, the Corporal throws some ice on the party with a stern reminder that they're not exactly close enough to exchange pleasantries. Giving Silverhead the cold shoulder, Corporal Lee strides toward another boy like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, a chubby fellow pipes up and asks Corporal Lee why he's even here, stirring the pot. But Silverhead isn't ready to let the drama die down just yet. He turns back to Corporal Lee and throws out a jab, wondering if the Corporal had his brain for lunch. With a flicker of defiance, Corporal Lee shoots back with an equally frosty glare. Silverhead doesn't back down. He taunts Corporal Lee about forgetting the good old memories and offers to refresh his memory with some real talk. We flash back to the past once again, where we see Corporal Lee, the budding superhero, levitating objects with his powers, putting on a show for a crowd of students. But instead of applause, they throw shade, questioning if that's the best he's got and mocking him for not living up to the awakened hype. Amid the doubters, Silverhead, ever the voice of brutal honesty, lets loose with colorful language, straight up calling Corporal Lee a loser and a fool. The objects Corporal Lee was levitating hit the ground unceremoniously, their majestic dance cut short. Silverhead's patience evaporates, and he delivers a resounding slap to Corporal Lee's mouth so fierce it draws blood. Corporal Lee sprawls on the ground as Silverhead stands triumphantly, raging against the whole awakened vibe. He goes off, mocking Corporal Lee's powers and calling him a dumbass. The threat is clear: one more boast about being awakened, and Corporal Lee might as well start picking his own grave. Back in the present, Silverhead keeps that same cocky tone and energy toward Corporal Lee. We finally learn that this man is Lee Waynell, a C-rank player with the fighter trait, proudly representing the Hope Guild. Silverhead takes it up a notch, threatening to relive the good old school days by beating Corporal Lee to a pulp and making him beg for mercy like before. In a classic power move, Silverhead orders the chubby guy to scram unless he wants a front row seat to the fight. But Corporal Lee, the epitome of calm confidence, fires back nonchalantly, telling him to give it a shot. Unfazed, Corporal Lee stares Silverhead down with the icy composure of a seasoned poker player, daring him to try his luck at murder. Corporal Lee must have hit a nerve because Silverhead snaps. He winds up for a punch aimed straight at Corporal Lee, who stands motionless, completely unimpressed. But the fierce punch freezes midair. A pen hovers menacingly in front of Silverhead's eye, ready to strike. Blades appear at his feet, forming a deadly ring of steel. The scene zooms out to reveal Silverhead surrounded by a storm of blades, each poised to strike with a mere flick of Corporal Lee's wrist. Corporal Lee lays down the law, admitting he can't guarantee victory, but he can make sure Silverhead looks like he got bulldozed by an entire army unit. He could turn him into a half-dead, regret-filled shadow of his former self, especially in close-range combat. The realization hits Silverhead hard. Corporal Lee completely outclasses him. But before the situation escalates, another character bursts into the room, announcing they need to leave immediately if they want to make it to the event on time. The newcomer freezes, stunned by the chaotic scene before him. Abruptly, Corporal Lee shifts gears, plays the victim, and starts apologizing to Silverhead. Out of nowhere, he wraps Silverhead in an embrace, leaving him utterly bewildered. Then comes the masterstroke of mind games. Corporal Lee claims he heard rumors that Silverhead was kicked out of the White Tiger Guild. He even describes vividly how he imagined Silverhead sprinting for his life and suffering an unfortunate accident during his first raid. Silverhead tenses up, his composure cracking, and demands to know how Corporal Lee found out about this embarrassing secret. Our man leans in, whispering a reminder that he has a big mouth and advises Silverhead to shape up if he wants to avoid public shaming by an F-rank player. Corporal Lee, never one to mince words, gives Silverhead the final push, emphasizing the urgency to leave before things escalate. Outside the Hope Guild, everything appears calm and collected, blissfully unaware of the internal drama unfolding inside. Corporal Lee lays out 3 guild cards he received from various seniors, spilling all the details about what will happen in these companies. Still in disbelief, the boy asks once more if it's legit. Are these stocks really about to shoot through the roof by those mind-boggling numbers? A simple nod from Corporal Lee is all the confirmation needed. The boy's jaw practically hits the floor as the realization sinks in. If this intel is real, they're talking about a life-changing turn of events. Outside the Blue Tree headquarters, a squadron of black-clad guards stands on duty, questioning how long they'll be stuck there. One of them suggests spicing things up with a good old gate raid. But among these order-barking guards, Silverhead grinds his teeth, showing unusual agitation. His friend, picking up on the tension, asks about the sudden behavior change. Just in time, their manager arrives, shooting daggers at the guards and calling them useless servants for causing a ruckus in such a reserved place. The spotlight shifts to a bulky man who turns to Silverhead with a stern expression, questioning if he's the leader of this rowdy gang. Clearly unimpressed, the man casually places a hand on Silverhead's shoulder, reminding him that this is Zone C and mocking him for not knowing the alphabet. The humiliation hits hard, and it's clear Silverhead has had enough. In frustration, he unleashes a swift punch, silencing the relentless trash talker. The giant man is sent flying into the air, leaving the other guards stunned. But Silverhead doesn't stop. He unleashes a barrage of punches on the airborne man as blood splatters like a gruesome paint job. The force of each blow shatters the ground beneath them. Silverhead shows no mercy. Blood rains down, creating a horrifying spectacle while the other guards stand frozen in disbelief. Finally, Silverhead stops, his face twisted with malice and a presence that could make a devil blush. He orders his lackey to find Corporal Lee because he's determined to end him once and for all. Inside the Hope Guild, Park Chiu is still reeling from the bombshell about the stocks, struggling to wrap his head around the possibility of them skyrocketing. Park Chiu, the leader of the Hope Guild and an analyst-class player, is the one who later leads the rediscovery of Rank F and finds a way to enhance his abilities. For now, he's skeptical, admitting he just can't believe it. After all, anyone claiming they can magically change your life with money sounds suspicious. Park Chiu even considers the possibility that this stock information was planted to set Corporal Lee up for a fall. Determined to win him over, Corporal Lee asks if he really thinks he's untrustworthy. The boy immediately denies it, expressing full trust in him. Corporal Lee assures him it's all true and, with a genuine smile, pulls out the big guns. A chat between him and the battalion commander showing a proposal to join the commission as an officer. With undeniable proof before him, Park Chiu finally accepts the truth. Now smiling, Corporal Lee reveals his ace in the hole. He's offering all the savings his parents left him. It's a modest 20 million won, not a fortune, but everything he has. He places his full trust in Park Chiu, handing over his life's savings. A flashback reveals a young Corporal Lee crying alone, until a chubby boy approaches to console him. The boy tells him that nobody in this world is without talent, it's just that talent is given the name of a superpower today. He urges him not to give up and to live long enough for his talent to be recognized. Fast forward to the present, Corporal Lee still treats that boy like the human sunshine who warmed his lonely nights back when he was a nobody. Now, as the story continues, humanity stands on the brink of encountering otherworldly beings, ones who are far more talkative than anyone could have imagined. The tech goodies we've gained from rubbing elbows with them will be a game changer in the Gate War. These beings possess skills essential for slowing down the gates and waves heading our way. That's why Corporal Lee needs an expert who can communicate with our intergalactic allies and quickly pass on their technological knowledge. Fast forward to young Dungo's blacksmith alley, where we see Corporal Lee wandering around, asking a merchant about the price of a Mona stone. He's gearing up for the future, and with 7 dwarven artisans by his side, he's on a mission to craft his first master-grade item. To do that, he must gather blacksmiths whose skills have advanced beyond the level of artisan to true masters before the villains catch wind of his plan. He enters a workshop where an old blacksmith is hard at work, but the man bluntly tells Corporal Lee that he's only selling what's already on the shelves and there's no point looking for anything else. This blacksmith, however, is no ordinary craftsman. He's artist Kang Young-do, a man expelled from the blacksmith guild for his eccentricities, and soon we learn exactly why. Corporal Lee smiles faintly and remarks that the smith seems too busy to even look up. It turns out the old man is forging something special, a javelin made of orichalcum. It may look rough, but it's destined to become the legendary Dragon Slayer spear, the very weapon that will pierce the heart of the dragon, Terex. At that moment, Corporal Lee realizes why the foundation for the first master-grade items was laid in this seemingly run-down workshop. Suddenly, a young woman bursts into the shop and calls Corporal Lee a crusty old man. The blacksmith immediately scolds her, telling her not to insult customers. But she fires back, accusing him of hypocrisy since he does the same thing himself. Despite the strange exchange of insults, Corporal Lee keeps his composure, smiling politely. It's then revealed that this woman is someone from his past life, Kang Bakul. She inherited all of Kang Young-do's skills 4 years after his death. Not only did she become a master smith, she even surpassed her mentor. She studies Corporal Lee with sharp eyes and recognizes the branded long trench coat and worn boots he's wearing. Instantly, her attitude shifts from cocky to composed, treating him with the respect of a valued customer. She asks what he's looking for and encourages him to share the details. Corporal Lee smirks, amused by how her obsession with money fits a dwarf perfectly. With her attention fixed on him, he lists all the items he needs and hands over 18 million. Overjoyed, Kang Bakul nearly bursts with excitement. The old smith, however, is puzzled. He points out that the corporal isn't a mage, so why is he buying poisonous magical metals and mystical tungsten alloy beads he can't even use? To him, this purchase seems like a complete waste of money. But Kang Bakul cuts in, telling the old man to be quiet and reminding him that the corporal must have his reasons. Corporal Lee simply replies that he needs them and will return for more trades soon. The old man sighs in defeat and mutters a reluctant "sure." With everything he came for, Corporal Lee turns to leave, tossing a casual goodbye over his shoulder. Kang Bakul beams with excitement, telling him to visit often. Money, after all, is her only motivation. As he walks away, he remembers her tragic death in his previous life and silently vows to protect her this time, no matter what. Later that night, the city is alive with lights as if it were day. In the shadows, a man in a hoodie lurks, keeping a close watch on someone. It's Corporal Lee, carrying a bag full of poisonous items. Without hesitation, he picks them up one by one, eating them like marshmallows. He's determined to strengthen his poison resistance and increase the amount of metal weight he can control before his vacation ends. Who needs a midnight snack when you can have a poisonous power-up session instead? Suddenly, a system window appears: metal absorption in progress. The metals are enchanted with poison, and the message confirms that Corporal Lee has ingested them. As absorption completes, his poison resistance increases slightly. It's mentioned that this process usually takes the same amount of time, but since he has unlocked a breathing room, it's happening faster than ever. Inside his body, everything is being torn apart. As soon as the poison enters, the breathing room activates, generating fire that immediately begins melting down the poison. Thanks to his internal furnace activation, his metal absorption efficiency skyrockets by 250%. But nothing comes without a price. The furnace inflicts unbearable pain, draining the color from his face. The system goes wild, bombarding him with relentless notifications about the incoming pain. Despite the agony, he remains determined to keep consuming the poison. Time is ticking, and the Seoul Station Gate incident won't wait. 2 days pass. A lackey in a hoodie reports to his boss about Corporal Lee's mysterious disappearance. He admits he has no idea what the corporal is doing. He's been holed up for 2 days without coming out. When the moon glow sneaks into the room through the window, the entire stash of poison items is gone. A notification pops up, revealing that Corporal Lee has unlocked Tier 2 poison resistance at an impressive 81%. Not only that, he has absorbed all the metals he consumed, increasing his controllable metal weight to 17.49 Ju. His metal detection ability has also improved, allowing him to sense up to 500 grams of metal from 135 meters away. Taking a moment to reflect, he realizes Tier 2 poison resistance isn't as strong as he expected, but he's relieved to have enough controllable weight to handle about 60 daggers. The system chimes again, congratulating him for passing the first latent breakthrough. He's gained a new skill trait, Metal Smash, a rank D skill that consumes mana to crush a certain amount of metal. The mana cost varies by quantity, making it a powerful skill capable of destroying metal instantly. A grin spreads across his face. With this skill, he can disarm nearly any weapon in one move. Every bit of grinding suddenly feels worthwhile. He suddenly senses something off and scans the area with his magical metal detector. An uninvited guest appears. It's Silverhead again. Corporal Lee isn't surprised. Calmly, he reminds Silverhead that he's now a soldier bound by rules and regulations, suggesting he leave peacefully. But Silverhead smirks, clearly not here for a chat. In an instant, he lunges forward, fists blazing. Corporal Lee stays calm, effortlessly blocking the incoming blow with his silver hand. Silverhead looks stunned. Still, he doesn't back down. Corporal Lee suggests taking the fight outside to avoid civilian damage, but Silverhead, itching for a fight, ignores him and launches another attack. Lee swiftly ducks, dodging the strike with ease, and counters with a powerful steel fist punch to Silverhead's abdomen. Silverhead groans in pain, collapsing to the ground. Even after the brutal hit, Silverhead refuses to lose face. He gathers himself and unleashes an enchanted kick, enhanced by his ability. The blow sends Corporal Lee flying through walls like an action hero, crashing through debris before diving out of the building, leaving destruction in his wake. But Silverhead isn't done. He's determined to finish this. As Corporal Lee falls through the air, he activates his body-strengthening transformation. His feet begin turning to steel just as Silverhead reappears, swinging with full force. Like a seasoned fighter, Lee pulls off a mid-air maneuver, changing direction effortlessly, ready for the next round of their clash. He lands gracefully on the ground, showing that while he might not be able to fly freely as he did in his past life, a clever combination of body strengthening, transformation, and metal control skills lets him control his descent with finesse. The relentless troublemaker comes hurling down again, aiming to crush our guy like a tomato with his enchanted leg. But once again, with lightning-quick reflexes, our man casually steps back, leaving Silverhead to crash into the ground. The building is buzzing with excitement as residents peek out from their apartments to witness the impromptu showdown between two players. Silverhead, not one to be easily deterred, gears up for another attack while hurling insults at our guy, questioning if he's just going to keep dodging like a ninja rat. He yells at the top of his lungs, challenging our mech to come at him like before. Ignoring the verbal onslaught, our guy leaps into the air, unleashing a flurry of kicks, but none seem to hit their target. After all, he's not just any ninja, he's a seasoned military ninja. The surroundings descend into chaos, and the pressure from their moves makes everything heavier. It's so intense that cars begin floating above the ground. Meanwhile, inside the building, the crowd goes wild. One person quickly warns the neighbors to avoid the first floor like it's haunted because a bunch of rowdy players are causing a ruckus down there. Corporal Lee continues dodging kicks with graceful precision, almost like he's performing a ninja ballet. But here's the catch, he's in a tough spot. With a crowd of civilians watching, and being the responsible military officer he is, he can't unleash his full power too aggressively, worried it might ruin his grand plans for the Seoul Station Gate. After a dazzling display of 100 kicks in the air, Silverhead finally plants his feet back on solid ground. He looks at the crowd peering from the windows, some even recording the epic showdown. It's like they've stumbled upon the strangest street performance ever. To avoid landing on the wanted list, Silverhead decides to wrap this up before it becomes the hottest viral video online. Now brace yourselves, his legs start shimmering even more fiercely, like he's pushing the limits of some cosmic leg day workout. Corporal Lee, however, just stands there, staring at him as if asking whether he plans to turn the whole building into rubble. He reminds Mr. Shiny Hair that civilians are involved and that they hold serious authority. He yells, warning that innocent people have no business being dragged into their fight. But Silverhead, consumed by rage, claims the public is nothing but trash bags sticking their noses where they shouldn't. Undeterred, he takes another gravity-defying leap, ready to put an end to Corporal Lee.